At half-time at Selhurst Park, it's goalless between Crystal Palace and Newcastle United, and Palace have dominated this one. They've had well over 70% possession, and they thought they took the lead within 30 seconds as Edouard fired in across from the left-hand side, but for the ball to deflect away. They have come closer than that as Christian Benteke hit the base of the left-hand post from a fabulous cross from the right-hand side from Michael Olise, but Benteke's header couldn't hit the back of the net, and nor could anybody else. At half-time, it's 0-0. But for the ball to deflect away, they have come closer than that as we'll leave that one there as the second half is underway at Selhurst Park. It's still goalless between Crystal Palace and Newcastle United. The only game at the 3 p.m. kickoffs in the Premier League that is still goalless. It's a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Independent off-tube studio commentary. Myself, Matt Guy and Paul Szczerbakowicz alongside me to bring you this second half coverage of this game. But it's certainly been an entertaining game and has had a few close moments, mainly for Crystal Palace, who have dominated possession.
They certainly have. 78% possession for Palace in the first half, which is unusual because Palace don't strike me as being a side that like to dominate in possession. They're a team that can actually get stuff done without necessarily having that much of the ball. And I just wonder if the fact that Newcastle were sitting as deep as they were actually affected Palace. They probably would have liked to have had a chance to play more balls down the channel and get those quick players involved as well. Yeah, the first game, this one, since Steve Bruce departed Newcastle United on Wednesday. Graham Jones taking charge of the Magpies today. That until the new owners find themselves a more permanent replacement. There's been a lot of rumours as to who will be the replacement, not just for managerial purposes, but also transfers in for players. As Crystal Palace gave the ball away, Hayden now gets the ball at his feet, but a foul will be brought back for James McArthur pulling. Good management there from Darren Ingham, because he could argue that Newcastle was still in possession after that foul, but he just felt as though the move had slowed down, so that they probably would prefer to have this free kick and start from there. It's one of those where Guehi slides in. I mean, it's very, very difficult to do a slide tackle these days without eyebrows being raised, and that was given as a free kick, and chance now to try and get this ball into the box. Our eyebrows were raised in the first half when there was a huge collision between Luka Milivojevic and Isaac Hayden in the opening moments. Neither player thankfully injured, neither player even picked up a card in that one. And so it was adjudged to have been a strong 50-50 as Ryan Fraser puts the ball in towards the box. It's headed backwards by Joachim Andersen, and a very confident Joel Ward allows that one to bounce in front of him, and Guaita can come out and grab. Yeah, must have had a shout there, Ward, from Guaita, that I will be able to claim this one, no problem. Palace now playing out from the back. But what Palace needs to do is just inject a little bit more urgency into what they did. That's not to say that they were slow and pedestrian in the first half, but for all that possession, they didn't get that many shots away on Darlow's goal, so they'll be looking just to have a little bit of a better conversion rate to the amount of possession they have. Absolutely. Just one chance is all it sometimes needs to get into the back of the net, and as soon as that does, you can look extremely comfortable. Have looked comfortable anyway, but this Palace side, it's a four at the back today with Ward, Anderson, Guehi and Tariq Mitchell, but Mitchell has been so advanced on the left-hand side, it's almost as if it's a back five with back three with Olise playing the other flank. He's on the right-hand side, and there's been another goal in a different game in the Premier League. As indeed, we're just waiting for confirmation of the goal scorer, but I can tell you that it is now Southampton 2, Burnley 1. Southampton taking the lead early on in the second half there, so we'll confirm the goal scorer. I can confirm that it's Armando Broja, another player with a Chelsea connection. We've seen a few of those already this afternoon. Broja on loan from Chelsea at Southampton. The Albanian international that actually did commentary of a game that he came on as a substitute in the game between Albania and Poland. He's starting to see the goals now for Southampton as they desperately look to try and plug the gap left by Danny Ings. Now it's a free kick given away by Sean Longstaff. Yeah, it's a good goal, that one, that Southampton won for Newcastle, in the sense that Burnley are in the bottom three alongside Newcastle on equal results and equal points at this moment. So Newcastle with a point at the moment. Leeds losing at home against Wolves. Everton level with Watford, who managed to peg back the home side as Fraser clears after the free kick was taken forward by Crystal Palace. And a throw-in over on the far side of the field as Graham Jones has been on his feet pretty much all afternoon, hasn't he? Encouraging his players from the sidelines. It's sometimes, it's a theory that Watford buy into, in the sense of getting in a new manager and buying into the idea that they will
instantly inject some life and get some results. And it's maybe something that will happen with Graham Jones. You never know for the couple of games that he's in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, as I say, he certainly has a managerial and assistant managerial pedigree. He's been around the game a long time. He first worked with Roberto Martinez back in 2007 at Wigan Athletic, so he certainly has plenty of experience of being in the dugout, and he would have been telling his players they just need to try and see a bit more of the ball in the second half. But this is a good move here for Palace down the right.
Gallagher on the right-hand side cuts it back in towards the penalty spot. Volley from Benteke! Woo, it was a scissor kick from his right-hand side. He's an acrobatic bloke, considering how big he is, and it's not far from being the back of the net.
Well, it's not quite on the same level as that bicycle kick he scored at Old Trafford all those years ago for Liverpool, but it's in the same sort of bracket, I would say. It's about 12 yards out, just beyond the penalty spot, has to turn, and it would have been a fabulous strike. What I like about this strike from Benteke is the power that he gets on it, gets a little bit of curl on it as well, so he was really aiming for that top corner, just couldn't quite keep it down.
Absolutely, just half a yard or so just above the bar. Benteke is the man who's come closest to scoring in this game after he hit the post from a header from across from the right hand side. Benteke battles for that one, and then Darlow clears his own goalkeeper out. Edouard on the ball, controls it, and then over and across there is Kraft, and not that one into the crowd. There's a Newcastle man down here. Gallagher is trying to persuade the ref to give a foul for the push on Benteke beforehand, and I think it looks like it's Kieran Clark who was clattered by his goalkeeper there.
Yeah, it just looks to be in a bit of trouble there. Clark coming out, and Darlow clumsy there, really, in crashing into his own defender. Always seemed to me as though Clark was favourite to get to that one anyway. But now I'm not entirely sure. It looked to me initially as though the referee had given a freak in there, but I think now, based on this, it looks like he's just stopped play because of the injury. Palace did feel as though Benteke was shoved off the ball, and then it looks like the ball was just put out of play by Emil Kraft. But that looked like quite a painful one there for Kieran Clark.
Yeah, it was Lascelles running alongside Benteke towards his own goal. Clark was covering across, and Lascelles then shoves Benteke. Clark is given the freedom of the park by Lascelles to go and head it. And I think the goalkeeper has come out initially thinking that Benteke might get there first and he has to sweep up. But he's just gone for it anyway. But it was so comfortable for Kieran Clark, he could have just chested it down, he could have headed it on. It was easy for Clark if the goalkeeper just hadn't gone right through the back of him. And that's exactly what Darlow did. And I think Amanda Staveley might be texting saying, we need a new goalkeeper.
I think she's been texting more than she's been watching the game.
Yeah.
Every time we get shots of Amanda Staveley, she's looking down at her phone. So just saw Graham Jones there with his, I suppose, his new assistant now, Steve Agnew. Certainly been through the North East clubs. He was a player at Sunderland. I think he's had a spell being coach at Sunderland as well as Borough. It's originally from Shipley and West Yorkshire, of course. But the two sides now pretty much as they were in the first half. Palace seeing more of the ball, but still not able to get too many chances. That Benteke effort, though, was a good chance, and here come Palace again.
Gray driving forward, gives it inside to Benteke. Now with Gallagher looking out to the right-hand side. That one's not a good ball. And doesn't find Michael Elise on the right-hand side, who's not had anything of the ball in the second half so far, really. He was a very tricky player in the first half and was able to hold off the Newcastle defence and create some chances going forward, but not really had it in the second half. And Matt Ritchie can take the throw-in down the left. It's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 0, Everton 1, Watford 1, Leeds 0, Wolves 1, and thanks to that Breuer goal, it's Southampton 2, Burnley 1. The game's all at 3 o'clock in the Premier League. As St Maximin down the left-hand side, holding off Guay, plays it back in towards Ritchie, who's supporting, fires it across the box. It's Gallagher, takes a risk, puts a foot to the air, but manages to scoop the ball over his own head. Now MacArthur chasing away with the ball, switches it to the left-hand side into Edouard. There's a man free on the right. If he can cut inside and find somebody, tries to take on two Newcastle men. It ends up ragging, I think, the defender down to the ground. I think it's a Kraft in the end who gets his body in front of Edouard, who pulls him down.
Yeah, well, certainly the Palace fans at the side of the pitch, they felt as though that should have been given as a free kick to Palace, or at least they didn't think there was any foul from Edouard. I think what they were unhappy about is that the fact that he was held briefly by Longstaff, but then it's just the way Kraft again knows what he's doing. I mean, that amount of contact wouldn't be enough to throw a grown man down, really, but he just wants to show the referee that he was being held.
Carl Darlow will take the free kick just outside the box. And we'll clip it down the right-hand side up towards Callum Wilson. Holds off Mitchell, then flicks it past Guay, but Mitchell is in there to recover and fire it into the air. Edouard's underneath it. He's trying to battle with Longstaff. Header comes in, battling with Kraft, and Longstaff heads it away. It's St. Maximin back inside towards Manquillo. He gets a kick and play continues. St. Maximin somehow keeps that one in play. It's dribbling all on the line over on that far side of the field, and in the end, a throw-in has gone against Palace. And the Palace fans in full voice supporting their side. It'll be interesting in this game, given we've almost played 10 minutes of the second half, to see when substitutes happen and if substitutes happen. I think that Palace have been pretty good. They've got Zaha, of course, on the bench amongst others, but Newcastle will probably be the first team for me to look for substitutes if they want to win this game, as opposed to just holding Palace off.
Yeah, I think so. That's the problem for Newcastle. They're just not getting enough attacking possession. They're stopping Palace by and large, but they're not getting enough attacking possession as Palace now try a long ball, but Richie's able to hook that one away. Yeah,
first time right-footed volley, and then a poor touch from Benteke allows Manquillo to step across and win that one. Fraser then sprinting away from Elise, who just gets slightly caught by the young Palace man, and goes down for a free kick. Fraser knew what he was doing there, and it looks like another goal between Southampton and Burnley. And it's the Wayside who look like they've levelled it. So a very entertaining one there.
Yeah, 2-2 after 58 minutes in that one. Just waiting for confirmation of who the goal scorer is, but it's a free kick to Newcastle now on the halfway line.
Burnley, who have struggled to score this season, have managed to score two down at St Mary's. As the ball's fired forward for Palace, good control from Benteke, turns it around the corner into Gallagher, switched out to the left-hand side into Edouard. A couple of men trying to get into the box now, flicks it back inside. Gallagher racing to try and get there, holds off Kieran Clark, who is being held there. Gallagher still on the ball, manages to scramble away with it, give it to the left-hand side in towards Mitchell. Mitchell stands it up towards the far post, men in there, Benteke's in there, goal for Crystal Palace. There were 3 men at the back post, it was Benteke, the man that was there, and he nods it into the bottom right-hand corner.
Well, that's great play from Christian Benteke, and the Palace fans, they can finally relax a little bit now after this bright start, after this dominant first half performance in terms of possession. Benteke with the acrobatic effort that went just over the bar a few minutes ago, but this time no problem from close range, and big applause there from the Palace fans towards Benteke. He's a popular player, just hasn't been able to get the goals that he feels he should be able to, but we see Gallagher over on the left-hand side picks out Tyrick Mitchell. It's a great cross from Mitchell. That's what makes the goal for me, is the fact that that ball hangs up at the edge of the 6-yard box, and you have to say it's a great leap from Benteke as well. Yeah,
he's clipped it into the air and just hovered it, hasn't it? As you said, it stood up there for ages, and it was always going to be a Palace head that won that. Whether it was Benteke, Edouard or Olise, it could have been any of the three of them. There was Clark and Richie in there. Well, Richie's a diminutive figure against Benteke. Clark was being bullied by both of them and was easily beaten to it. And it was just asking for the ball to be put in towards the corner. Nothing that Darlow can do about it. He can't even come out for the cross. It was a good one from Mitchell, wasn't it, that prevented the goalkeeper from getting anywhere.
Yeah, it just puts it into that area where the goalkeeper isn't going to get there in time. And with just under an hour played, Palace do break the deadlock. They always seem like the side more likely to score first. And now we've got to see a plan B from Newcastle.
Absolutely. It's Maxwell Cornet with the second goal for Burnley, incidentally.
It's two for him this afternoon. He's having a good game. Cornet has made a pretty good start since he's arrived at Turf Moor. But now Newcastle, we really have to see what they can do in response, because I wouldn't say they were hanging on, but they were quite happy, it seemed, with the scoreline at 0-0, and now they've got to try and do something to break that up. Yeah, you feel that they should really, at some point, have to go for this one, probably take off a defender, you would have thought, whether it be Manquillo or Kraft, and then obviously they're both often played at right back, aren't they? So one of those could be taken off for a midfielder, potentially get St. Maximin higher up the field on the ball, because although he's up there with Wilson, he's not really had the ball in and around the Palace box, and has had to sometimes dribble from a midfield area all the way forward. Wilson's been pretty starved of support up there as well, in terms of balls into dangerous positions, but a good chance here for Kraft to launch a throw-in in. It's 58 minutes gone, launches it, long throw-in, it's flicked on by Clark towards the front post, good header from Anderson, stooping down towards it. Manquillo loses an aerial battle against Edouard, and then Wilson just pulls back Elise, but Benteke still going forward, and another one for Wilson. That, for me, could be 2 yellow card challenges, but given that they've happened within 2 yards, what's going to happen? He's going to get a booking here for sure. I don't think there's going to be a second one. I think Darren England would surprise me if he did that, but not too many complaints here from the Newcastle number 6. He knows what he did there was just a little bit too excessive, trying to stop the run of Benteke. Basically, I mean, it's bordering on a rugby tackle, that really, isn't it? After the Lascelles initially collided with Elise. couldn't quite stop him going on the counter, so he thought, well, I'm definitely going to stop Benteke, and I think he was basically making sure that he got a booking there.
Yep, absolutely. As Darren England gives the free kick on round about the centre circle, so there is the yellow card for Jamal Lascelles. I initially incorrectly said it was Wilson. Wilson already has a yellow card in this game for that scrap earlier on with Joel Ward. As Anderson brings the ball up from the back now for Crystal Palace, gives it to the right hand side in towards Ward, now in towards Gallagher, and Palace will just settle here in this game. You feel they could do with a 2-goal cushion just to relax, but they won't go for it too much. They've been so dominant in terms of possession so far this game that Newcastle have to change something to try and press them and win the ball back in dangerous areas, but so comfortable it's been for Palace that they just need to play as they were, really. They weren't under any undue stress. As Benteke dribbling forward with the ball through midfield to Mitchell, cuts inside towards Edouard. A little bit of a hack at that from Longstaff, eventually towed away by Kraft, picked up by Mark Guay on 60 minutes. And Anderson now looking to go square in towards Joel Ward. And just looking towards the benches to see if there's much movement. And there's a few players warming up there. Conor Gallagher turns nicely in midfield, gives it out to Elise on the right hand side, cuts inside on his left boot, edge of the box is Edouard, runs over it, gives it to Benteke, plays it back towards Edouard, coming out is Darlow quickly, able to slam that one clear, but nice interlinking play from Benteke and Edouard.
Lovely combination play there, absolutely. I just wonder maybe was there scope for the shot to be a little bit sooner there, but in the end I think Benteke from his position was a little bit blocked, so it was right that he went for the pass, but Palace get the ball back straight away. Gallagher
just chests it past Ritchie and goes down under a tackle, and that one will be a free kick to Palace on the right hand side, and another opportunity for an aerial chance. It's a set piece from the right hand side, and you feel that with Elise on the right hand side and Mitchell getting forward on the left, they could just keep pushing balls into the Newcastle box because Benteke and Edouard are so dominant in there.
They are. The law of averages tells you they're going to win some of those headers, aren't they, if the crosses are right. And a couple of free kick takers here for Palace, right-footed Milivojevic and left-footed Elise.
It is Milivojevic to whip it in. It's a poor one, really. It deflects out towards Joel Ward, puts it back in towards the box, nodded down by Edouard, looking for Anderson on the layoff, but it comes back towards MacArthur now. Ward out to the left hand side to Mitchell, into MacArthur, has a chance to turn. Aiden's not quite close enough to press that. As Anderson out to the right hand side into Elise, looking for an option forward now with Milivojevic, and it's so comfortable on the ball. There's slight resemblances the way they're dominating the ball, like Chelsea did against Norwich, and the fact that they're so confident and that Newcastle are not getting close to them as Elise whips it into the box again. Benteke off the bar, and it just goes behind for a goal kick. He could have had a hat trick today.
He should score them. I mean, as I say, he's very close, but he's jumping too early for that one. Nobody's really marking him. He should get that on target and score. Great play again here down the right from Elise with that supposedly weaker right foot. Still a great cross. But from there, you just feel that Benteke, looping header, if he just timed that jump a little better, he could have powered that header towards goal rather than trying to loop it. And that's he's still very close hitting the bar, but I think Benteke should score there.
Yeah, it's dipping in behind Carl Darlow, but not enough to beat the bar. He's hit the post. He's had the acrobatic effort that he just played over the bar. He's scored, and he's now hit the bar in this game. He's the danger man so far, and Newcastle just cannot deal with the aerial battle against Christian Benteke. As MacArthur battling on the far side of the field. Eventually Alan Maximan gets the ball at his feet, tries to fire it forward to Wilson, but it's cleared forward. Milivojevic then shoulders St. Maximan quite clearly and right in front of referee Darren England, and that one's certainly going to be a free kick. And if Newcastle are going to get back into this game, maybe a set piece is not the worst way to go about it. But it looks as though changes are coming here. Yeah,
changes afoot. Double change for Newcastle. Joe Willock and Miguel Almiron getting ready to come on for the visitors. But not before this free kick, with Palace setting their offside line just at the edge of their own area.
It'll be Sean Longstaff over this free kick. He asks for a man to run short on the right-hand side. It's Mankiel, but eventually just stands one up towards the back left of the box. It's Kieran Clark wins the first header. Joel Ward wins the second one, out for a corner kick. And it looks as though Kieran Clark is going to stay up for this one, and I don't think that Newcastle are going to make those changes, and they're going to throw the big men up from the back for the moment.
It's an old superstition, is he? You're not supposed to make changes just before a corner. Although I suppose the attacking team will probably get away with it more than the defending team who are set up for marking. But here comes the outswinger from Ritchie.
Matt Ritchie, left-footed far post. Lascelles knocked down. It's an overhead kick attempt. Oh, what a goal! Callum Wilson with the overhead kick into the top left-hand corner, and out of nowhere, Newcastle are level.
Unbelievable. Well, that certainly came out of absolutely nowhere. Not just the fact that Wilson scores an overhead kick, but the fact that Newcastle have scored at all, when you consider how little play they've seen, how little attacking possession they've had. But Callum Wilson, with an absolute worldie there from the Newcastle number 9. The new ownership would have been impressed with that for sure. Header across, it just loops off Longstaff, and Wilson makes his mind up very quickly. He's in the right position. Overhead kick right onto the crossbar into the top corner. Fantastic from Callum Wilson.
Postage stamp stuff, isn't it, from Callum Wilson? And there's been a lot of talk about changing and around the club and bringing in some quality players. Well, Callum Wilson has shown something that any player around the world would be proud of. It's come almost near the top of his toes, hasn't it? With the way he's flicked it, it's perfect from Callum Wilson. And he salutes the crowd as he runs down the field.
I must admit, it's a very sort of nonchalant, cool celebration considering the goal he's just scored. It's fabulous from Callum Wilson. And this game suddenly got some more life in it.
Absolutely. There's another goal at Goodison Park. Richarlison has put Everton ahead, which is another good goal for Newcastle. Watford not looking like they're going to pick up any points there at Goodison. Now Burnley, of course, picking up one at Southampton. Leeds trailing to Wolves, and now Newcastle have got a goal back. They have brought on Joe Willock and Miguel Almiron. Didn't quite see the confirmation as to who they came on for.
Confirmation now that it's Fraser and it's Longstaff that have gone off to be replaced by Almiron and Willock.
So Almiron probably in a more... Well, no, they were in a midfield three, weren't they? So Willock and Almiron will probably play in those midfield areas as Zaha now comes on for Michael Elise for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Michael Elise can count himself quite unlucky, really. I would like to think it was more for a tactical reason, because certainly Elise doesn't deserve to come off based on how well he's played this afternoon.
Yeah, although Crystal Palace and Patrick Vieira have lots of different options in attacking areas now, don't they? So they have to.
That I think is part of the problem with a lot of Premier League footballers these days, is that they always take it personally, don't they? You sort of forget that it is a team sport, and sometimes for the better of the team, they have to make a change, even if it seems that a player is actually playing well. But here come Palace now. They'll be furious at conceding, because they didn't look like conceding for most of this game.
No, absolutely not. And to the left-hand side, Milivojevic just comes inside. It comes back towards Joel Ward, and the scampering Miguel Almiron looking to come down the left-hand side now, looking to play a ball forward, maybe knocks it inside of Joel Ward, chases after it, puts a toe on it, but Ward is there to sweep up. And Zaha finally picks up the ball on the right-hand side. But now it's a good moment. We're halfway through the second half, and it's Paul to bring us up to the finish line.
Thank you very much, Matt. Yes, Palace in possession on the halfway line here with MacArthur being put under real pressure there from Willock, who's going to want to come on and to make a big impression straight away. In the meantime, ball back over with Mitchell on the left-hand side, and that's equaliser for Newcastle. And not only was it of the highest quality, but it would have been a surprise to Palace when you consider that they really have looked comfortable in defence for most of the game this afternoon. And they're comfortable in possession now, midfield inside of their own half, with Mitchell bringing the ball forward. He's got a couple of options. Edouard's just ahead of him. Gallagher's gone square. That's where the ball's gone. Gallagher just about gets the ball through to Edouard, who then leaves it for Benteke. Benteke back to Edouard, but he was just a little bit too far away from the former Celtic man, and Darlow can come out and make a very comfortable save. With 22 minutes to play in this match, really is anybody's guess what's going to happen now. I thought that after Palace scored, a second Palace goal was more likely than a Newcastle equaliser, but Wilson's certainly put pay to that. And now you'd argue that with that goal, Newcastle could certainly be playing with their tails up again now.
Yeah, and they might rue those chances, might they, Crystal Palace, come the end of the game. Christian Benteke having all of those chances. It certainly did look like Palace were going to be the more dominant.
Well, here come Newcastle now, down the right-hand side as Saint-Maximin under real pressure there, trying to turn away from trouble. He then leaves the ball for Manquillo. No free kick given. Ball now back to Willock. Just a bit of a heavy touch there from Willock. The ball put out for a throw down the right-hand side. Guehi just feeding that one a little bit, but he's back up on his feet now. With chance now for Newcastle to send the long ball into the box, and we know that Emil Kraft does have a long throw on him. Just looking to see where his teammates are. Now taking as many steps back as he can before he's into those advertising boards. And there's 5 Newcastle players to aim for inside that penalty area. Here comes the ball into the box. It's headed away initially by Milivojevic. Ball drops to a Hayden. He heads it back into the penalty area, but it's cleared up towards the halfway line, where it's headed forward by Manquillo, who stayed back as the last defender for Newcastle. Edouard then dispossesses Saint-Maximin. No free kick given. A second ball played down to Edouard down the left-hand side. He then bumps into Manquillo, but it's out for a throw to Newcastle down the right-hand side.
Yeah, it's one of those little bumps that you've... Well, Jamal Lascelles, he knows it's going to come, and if he wanted to, I think he could have stayed on his feet, but probably would have ended up running into the advertising boards instead. He's just flopped forward, hasn't he?
Yes, and absolutely, yeah, just to make sure that the referee was definitely aware of the contact. Kraft now waiting to take this throw down the right-hand side, headed up in the air by Tyrick Mitchell. Loose ball is played over the top now, though, and it's one for Wilson to chase. He beats Guecki to it, breaks into the box, but he was very wide on the right-hand side. He needs support, tries to get a cross in. It's well blocked in the end by Mark Guecki, and it's out for a Newcastle corner. Yeah, has done well in the end there, Gueye, but finally Newcastle playing a ball forward over the top, and a man is chasing it, and they've won it. So Callum Wilson's got his tail up after that goal, hasn't he? And Saint-Maximin will chase everything all day long, as will Almiron. So Newcastle have really changed the tide in this game. They have, and they want to now try and follow this up and get another goal-scoring opportunity. It's going to be an in-swinging corner from Matt Ritchie from the right-hand side. Plenty of pushing and shoving inside that penalty area. As Ritchie puts the ball in, it's a good punch away by Gaeta, and then an attempted overhead kick from Edouard. Well, I say attempted, he pulled it off, it just didn't get very far away from the box. Ball is still circling in midfield before it's finally taken down by Benteke, and he finds Conor Gallagher, who is brought down by Hayden as he made the pass, but it still gets through to substitute Wilf Zaha. Zaha breaks into the box, wants to get a shot away, does get a shot away, probably took too many attempts. Then it's a real attempt at a pile driver there from Milivojevic. We know that he's got a great right foot on him, but his shot is charged down almost immediately. And Mitchell now finding MacArthur in the midfield here for Crystal Palace. Square to Ward, towards Zaha on the right-hand side. Zaha inside to Gallagher, back to Ward. Newcastle were back in numbers, but Palace creeping forward towards that penalty area now. Zaha on the right-hand side, looking to try and get a cross in. He does get a cross in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, headed away by Kraft. Second ball is potentially could have been rescued there by Ward, but it was played away from him. It's back on the halfway line, but Saint-Maximin just can't get on the end of it. And this is almost one-way traffic. Now the ball is played through towards Benteke. It's a great chance, and he's missed it. Oh, what a miss that is from Benteke. There was a dummy from Edouard in the build-up that allowed that ball to get through to Benteke, and that's a gilt-edged chance, and Palace should be 2-1 up.
Absolutely. Edouard and Benteke on a brilliant wavelength today, aren't they? They know when to leave it, they know when to play 1-2s. But Benteke, not only has he missed, he's missed the target on a 1v1 against Darlow. I mean, that gap that he's trying to find at the front post is there. Darlow is not covering it, but he's just completely missed it.
I still can't believe that Benteke has missed that one. In the meantime, it's another substitution for Palace. It's an attacking midfield substitution because Luka Milivojevic has gone off, and he's been replaced by Jeff Schlupp. Does that mean that they're going to ask Gallagher to sit a bit deeper now, potentially?
Quite potentially, yeah, or whether they go to a 4-4-2 and maybe Schlupp plays off the left, Gallagher's inside, and then Edouard and Benteke up top.
Yeah, that could work just as well, absolutely. So we'll keep an eye out to see exactly what Patrick Vieira has in mind. But confirmation that Jeff Schlupp is now on for Luka Milivojevic, who, frankly, over the last couple of seasons, it's quite rare to see Milivojevic play a full 90 minutes. That's not been disparaging. It's just pace of the Premier League. And the sort of midfield role that he has does mean that he does get burnt out. He has had a couple of injury worries as well. Throw on to Palace down the left, and Mitchell's throw gets through to Benteke. He leaves it now for Edouard, who plays the ball through to Zaha, who was well marshalled by Matt Ritchie, and he needed to be because Zaha was looking to get away from him. The ball ends up with Wilf Zaha, and it was almost like because he'd made his mind up he was going to finish this attack off right at the very start. He just didn't want to pass the ball to anyone, but the shot in the end is very tame.
Yeah, it was a good header from Ritchie, wasn't it, to turn Zaha away initially, but yeah, he'd made his mind up and he was a bit too stubborn with it. Before, when he was on the right wing, he looked as if he was trying to dribble inside, but instead decided to float across it. That was the correct decision. On this occasion, the shot was the wrong one because he had an overlapping run as well from Schlupp.
He did, and they should have looked up to try and get a pass there as Saint-Maximin plays the ball down the right-hand side and then just runs straight into a Palace defender, expecting to get a free kick for that in his favour, but the referee now in England not interested in that. It's a throw on to Palace down the left-hand side. 74 minutes gone. Independent off-tube studio commentary. Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle 1. Header from Benteke puts Palace in front, but then what about that for a strike from Callum Wilson? Overhead kick around 10-11 yards out, right into the top corner, and really the technique and the quick thinking to be able to do that from Callum Wilson was really quite something, and no surprise that we could see the Newcastle fans in full voice now. Really pleased with what their side has done in response to that Palace goal in the second half. Palace now playing out from the back, but you can see Newcastle are pushing that a little bit higher up the field, so it's just not as easy for Palace to keep the ball anymore.
No, it's certainly not. They've got a bit more life in them, haven't they, since Willock and Almiron came on in terms of that pressing. They're getting a little bit tighter, and it's harder for Palace to get over halfway. They are the team that are dominating the possession once again, but as you say, it's a little bit more tough, and Newcastle are a little bit more dangerous than they were on the break, given that they've got the tails up.
And they're trying to get forward here now, Palace, with Schlupp playing it square to Gallagher. Now over towards Guecki on the left-hand side, back into Conor Gallagher. He tries to go forward himself, heading towards the penalty area. Finds Benteke, lays the ball off now to Zaha. Zaha's ball into the box, well, they're looking for a free kick there, Jeff Schlupp is, but I'm not sure he's going to get anything there.
No, never. It was drilled past him, wasn't it, more than anything, by Wilf Zaha. It was not the worst idea of a ball in towards Jeff Schlupp. It was just really poor execution from Zaha on that occasion. But Schlupp is more than happy to run down that right-hand side, isn't he? That's a couple of times now he's run past Wilf Zaha. He's just in a central midfield position at the moment, with Zaha on the right and Edouard still on the left. So Gallagher has just dropped in. He
has just dropped in, and it does make sense that Vieira would do that. He wants to have a more attacking midfield, but he also doesn't want to go hell for leather, because there is a point already here in this game, and Newcastle have proven that they can still be a goal threat, even if they've sat back inside their sat back inside their half for most of this game. And Palace now starting again on the halfway line with Anderson, with Joel Ward being closed down by Almiron, goes back towards the halfway line. Sort of slow and steady from Palace now. They just don't want to give any easy balls away to Newcastle. Now here is Edouard. Drops the shoulder, gets away from Willock, breaks into the box. It's still with him. He leaves the ball now for Mitchell. Mitchell back to MacArthur. And the ball now over on the left-hand side as Mitchell gets closed down by Almiron. Another throw to Crystal Palace. They're creeping closer to this penalty area now. Yeah, they are, and they need to look for that cross, don't they? It's certainly got to be a cross really that it's got to come from, whether it's drilled in, whether it's floated in. It's Benteke and Edouard who are getting in there and providing that option. But it just seems as though they're just not quite getting there. But as the next 13 minutes go on, it may be a case that they might find that half a yard needed. Yeah, well, if Newcastle starts sitting back too deep, of course, that is going to encourage Palace to get forward even more as they try a quick 1-2 there between Edouard and Benteke. It's over now towards Zaha, right-hand edge of the box. Zaha plays that one across the 6-yard box. Challenge there from Hayden, partially blocks the situation. The ball is still at the edge of the area where it's kept alive for Palace by Joel Ward. It's interesting, they looked up to the right-hand side and realised, well, God, I'm the right-back, I've got no one to pass to, but eventually Zaha did become available, and now he plays that ball into the box. Benteke turning and firing, and if that strike from Benteke is either side of goalkeeper Darlow, then I think Palace take the lead, but he hits that one straight down the middle. Yeah, we were saying earlier in the game that potentially Benteke could have had a hat-trick. Now he certainly should have. I mean, he is pressured there by Hayden. It's a slight little bit of miscommunication between him and Zaha. Zaha wants to strike that one, doesn't he, and dribble forward with it. I don't think the shot was potentially the wrong option. I think it was still a good option from Benteke. He just needed to be better and more accurate. Yes, I would agree with that. I could also tell you that we've got a fourth goal at Goodison Park, and Watford have equalised again in that game. The goal scorer was Kuchka, who's always a good bet for a yellow card if you ever want to add someone who might get a booking. He's one of these hell for leather central midfielders, but he's on the score sheet this afternoon as well, Kuchka, and Watford back on level terms at Goodison Park. Perhaps now, finally, Ranieri didn't really have too much time to get to know his players before that hammering they had against Liverpool at home last weekend. But Watford certainly looking a bit more accomplished against the other Liverpool side today.
Yeah, absolutely. Everton have been in good form as well this season. Of course, you mentioned in the first half with Damari Gray and Andros Townsend, who've been fantastic for them. But Watford, that's not a bad result if they can hold that one out for 2-2.
I think Ranieri would be very happy with that. It's his first away game as Watford manager. Other scores: Leeds 0, Wolves 1, Southampton 2, Burnley 2. Finished Chelsea 7, Norwich City 0. That was the early kickoff. Still to come, we have the late kick-off in the Premier League, which is Brighton and Hove Albion against Manchester City, and potentially more happening at Goodison Park just as we say those words. But it's a throw on to Palace now down the right-hand side. We're getting into the last 10 minutes of the game. But Newcastle haven't given up the ghost on having some attacking play. They're getting Joel Linton ready to come on. The Brazilian forward is now getting his final instructions from Graham Jones as the ball's now down the right-hand side. It's Schlupp who gets the ball into Zaha. Zaha skips away from 2 challenges, can't skip away from the third. It's a good sliding challenge there from Kieran Clark, and then as Ritchie looks to clear the ball down the left-hand side, it deflects out for a throw. Now we're going to see that change for Newcastle. It's going to be a like-for-like swap really, with Saint-Maximin going off and Joel Linton coming on. And Saint-Maximin has been quiet in this game, particularly in the second half.
Unfortunately he has, yeah. He's such a good player to watch, isn't he? Unfortunately, has been a little bit quiet. But what I think he's thinking, Graham Jones, is if they're going to have a chance in these final few minutes, it's probably from a set piece, like they did with Callum Wilson. And Joel Linton is much more of a threat from a set piece than Saint-Maximin is.
It's that man again at Goodison Park. Josh King getting his second goal of the afternoon. Everton 2, Watford 3 is the latest score now from Goodison Park. And that's certainly a potential coupon buster for more than one person, I would imagine. I certainly didn't expect Watford to go to Goodison and get all 3 points, but that's what we're looking at now with less than 10 minutes to go in that game. There's 9 minutes plus injury time to go in this game, and Newcastle going forward now down the left-hand side with Almiron. He's got a bit of space as well, breaks into the box, puts a cross into the 6-yard box, and it's a good header out by Anderson. Out for a Newcastle corner.
That's what Almiron brings, isn't it? A little bit of pace, a little bit of scamper. You're not quite sure which way he's going to go, and then a little bit of technical quality in the end after receiving it from Joel Linton to try and put that cross in. It was a good ball as well, towards the far post, but Anderson was there to match it.
Certainly was, and Anderson is going to have to be on his toes again here now. So Newcastle can threaten from a set piece. Joel Linton now getting into position. Callum Wilson's there just at the edge of the 6-yard box. It's going to be an out-swinging corner from Matt Ritchie. Left footer from the left-hand side. Aimed at the edge of the 6-yard box. Joel Linton with a header, but it goes up in the air rather than towards goal. And then it drops to Edouard, who fires one straight down the middle, but that one is easily picked up here by Manquillo. Stayed on the halfway line for Newcastle, and his ball into the box is straight into the arms of goalkeeper Gaeta. MacArthur now brings the ball forward for Palace out towards the left-hand side. It's Mitchell. We couldn't quite get that ball through towards Edouard. Still trying to close it down, but it's cleared back towards the halfway line. Here is MacArthur, does well. Turns and then plays the ball forward. It's Wilfried Zaha. Schlupp for support on the right-hand side, and Schlupp tries to cut in on that trusty left foot, and then Edouard tries to touch it on first time to Benteke. Doesn't manage it, but then the ball ends up with Schlupp anyway. He almost gets it through to Benteke. Palace are still on the attack now with Schlupp. Left-hand edge of the penalty area. Big strike, big deflection. Darlow's chasing. I don't think he's made it in time. Palace are asking for a corner kick, which they are going to get.
Yep, they are going to get it in the end. Darlow not quite quick enough to get there, but it was not. Each of the Palace players on the edge of the box, they had a nice idea in what they were going to do in terms of flicking it or leaving it, but none of them quite managed to do it in the end, did they? And in the end, it just ended up with a blocked shot. But corners are just as good as opportunity for Palace as anything else.
They certainly are, and so they need to try and get the right ball into the box here, because Newcastle have got enough tall players to try and negate this threat from Palace. We can see Benteke and Anderson stood next to each other, get two of those big players together to try and just throw the defence a little bit, but it's an out-swinging corner from Conor Gallagher. Aimed it too close to that near post. Easy header from Joel Linton, but the ball goes back to Gallagher, puts the cross in, which again, well headed away. It looked like it was Longstaff with the but now it's played back in over towards the right-hand side, and that one is looped over and away for a goal kick. But a bit disappointing in the end from Palace. But with the way the game's going now, we've got 6 minutes plus injury time to play. I wouldn't like to predict how this game's going to go.
No, it could still go either way, and it was good play from Gallagher to get the third cross in the end. It was just a shame that he miscued it on the bounce, but yeah, it still could go either way. There's the counter-attacking threat from both sides, isn't there? Especially Newcastle, because Palace have more of the ball. But it could still go either way, and it could be a late big finish.
Absolutely, that's certainly what both sides will be hoping. They can still get a winner in this game. And Newcastle have now made all three of their changes: Joelinton, Almiron and Willock on the field. Palace have still left themselves one potential change should they need it, as the ball now is played towards the edge of the Palace penalty area. Mitchell now hooking that one away back into midfield, and now a chance potentially for Palace to go forward, but Clark is there, although he gives the ball away straight away to Conor Gallagher, and now Edouard down the left-hand side. He's hard to dispossess, is Odsonne Edouard. Saw him there just playing it square to Schlupp, who can't quite control it, and the ball now back with once again clears it up towards the halfway line, headed forward by Joe Ward, who was being fouled, said the referee, when Wilson collided with him.
Yeah, just a shove in the back from Callum Wilson. Of all those substitutions you mentioned, I think the quietest one of the lot has been Willock since he came on for Newcastle.
We've hardly seen him at all.
I'm just wondering if or when he could have a moment in this game.
Well, the way in which Newcastle are playing on now, it is almost like their central midfield is getting bypassed a little bit, because when they go on the attack, they're trying to be quick on the counter, and when they're in defence, they're sat back deep, and it's just a line of players. So we've certainly not seen any chance for Willock to really show his attacking prowess, as a long ball is played towards Newcastle's penalty area. Headed back into midfield, but Zaha picks it up down the right-hand side, breaking into he plays it across the 6-yard box. There's pinball inside the penalty area, strike from MacArthur. Big deflection in the end. It looks like it was Lascelles that got his body in the way, and it deflects out for a corner kick. But goodness me, this was very close for Palace.
Yeah, it's coming, isn't it, for Palace now? They're working it well. It was good in towards Zaha on that right-hand side. He did well to hack out a cross in the end. It was just a number of deflections, wasn't it, that stopped the goal from going in the end, but a great chance for the corner.
Yeah, it is a corner kick now to Palace on the right-hand side. Conor Gallagher getting a good round of applause here as he goes off the field. So it will be Gallagher off. Jean-Philippe Mateta on, so certainly Patrick Vieira will be hoping that talent he has of bringing on subs at the right time. There's a header into the back of the net, and Crystal Palace take the lead on 86 minutes. The corner kick was whipped in towards the left-hand edge of the 6-yard box. Benteke jumps completely free, nobody marking him, and Palace lead with 3.5 minutes to play.
And Benteke has had so many chances in this game. He could have had 5 or 6, but he's finally made it 2 for himself and 2 for Palace. And what could be a winner. It's a cross that's floated into the far post. He just, unmarked as you said, just flew in there himself, well into the air above everybody else, and a great header as well, looping into the far post.
Really was a powerful header from Benteke, but it's unforgivable really that someone like Benteke could have a run-up, a jump, a header, and then nobody even tries to stop him. It's not even a case of him being marked. There's no one even trying to cause him any kind of problems there at all. There are 2 Newcastle players hitting the deck as Benteke rises. I want to see from this replay. Well, I'll tell you what, there's certainly no foul from Benteke, but Mark Guecki is shoving a couple of players over there, but I don't think VAR is going to take too much notice of that. There's so much pushing and shoving that is tolerated when it comes to set pieces. Darren England now is just trying to calm things down. I'm not entirely sure what the problem is here, unless, of course, he's now being told to look at that replay. So potentially this goal for Newcastle, for a Palace, could be disallowed. Josh King, meanwhile, has completed his hat-trick
against his old team.
Against his old team, wouldn't you know it? And that is a great moment there for Josh King. Mark Guecki, I mean, he's basically clearing out 2 defenders there so that his teammate can jump and clear the ball. And that goal has been disallowed. Benteke has every right to look surprised because he has no idea what's going on in front of him. But I think it is the correct decision, because Guecki makes no attempt to go for the ball whatsoever. Yeah,
absolutely. It's the shirt pull, isn't it? I think it's on Kieran Clark at the back. He's the man that's marking Benteke. He just pulls him to the ground.
2 for 1. He's pushing over Matt Ritchie at the same time as well. So the foul was by Guecki. The goal is not given, and I think both myself and Matt feel as though that was the correct decision. And ball is now back in play. We've got 90 seconds before we hit injury time here at Selhurst Park. Palace 1, Newcastle 1. Palace were in front for a couple of seconds there, but VAR put pay to that. Everton 2, Watford 4. That's a scoreline that I don't think many would have expected. Leeds 0, Wolves 1 is a scoreline that you certainly could have predicted, because Leeds struggle when they're missing their 2 or 3 key players, whether it's Phillips in midfield or Bamford in attack. And there's going to be a yellow card here, getting back to action at Selhurst Park. A big collision there inside the Newcastle half, just as the ball was heading down that left-hand side. And it's Benteke.
He's talked his way in, hasn't he, there?
Yeah, he's got himself a yellow card there. His frustration for Benteke after his goal was disallowed, but it was a bit too aggressive in the way he flew into Emil Kraft there.
Yeah, and Kraft is feeling the effects of it, isn't he, on the ground, receiving some medical treatment. And finally we get the shots of Mateta, who's obviously come on for Gallagher in this second half. We are in the final minute of regulation time. There'll be a few minutes of added time as well, of course, for the Benteke goal celebration, as well as Wilson's, as well as the third goal and the VAR review and 6 substitutions, so maybe 3 to 4 minutes or something like that, and a good chance for one of the two teams to snatch a winner.
Absolutely. Don't assume that this game is that the goals have finished in this game. I expect that Newcastle, if they get the chance, they'll still be going forward. We're getting so many replays of this disallowed goal, but
it's correct.
It is correct. I mean, Ritchie is perhaps incidental, but it's the way that he's almost dragging that shirt off the arm of Kieran Clark. I think that's probably what's convinced, first of all, the VAR officials, and then our match official, Darren England, that goal should have been disallowed. But we're back underway, and here come Newcastle now down the left-hand side with Almiron. Gets to the edge of the area. 5 minutes, by the way, that we're into that 5 minutes of added time. Cross coming in. Oh, I tell you what, it's just a corner after the ball is whipped in from the left-hand side. It does strike Joel Ward. Whether it strikes him on the arm or not, that's something that we can only answer once we see this replay, man.
Yeah, it was whipped in by Ritchie first time on the left boot. His arm's down by his side, he's leant his shoulder downwards, and it's stopping the ball from going into the box.
I think so. I'm quite surprised that they've not even asked for a 30-second sort of VAR check of this one. It's just gone straight out for a corner, and the corner kick is now to be taken. It's an outswinger from Matt Ritchie, aimed at the edge of the 6-yard box. Glancing header there from Joel Ward, and it finds Sonny Edouard, and he's off down the left-hand side, trying to start a counter-attack here for Crystal Palace. Great covering, though, that from Joe Willock. Wins the ball back for his sides and draws the free kick as well. And a little shove there on Edouard to say you're not going to get away with it that easily.
Yeah, we saw 7 goals earlier on at Stamford Bridge. We've seen 7 goals at Goodison Park now, as Watford have scored a 5th. And it's Emmanuel Dennis.
Emmanuel Dennis, yeah, the Nigerian forward. Did commentary of Watford's very first game of the season against Villa. He looked excellent in that game. And he scored again today. Had a couple of goals in between as well, of course. But what a performance that is.
Yeah.
I say that. Concede 5 at home to Liverpool, then go away to Everton a week later and score 5, having conceded 2 as well. Really is an excellent performance there from Ranieri's side. But here come Newcastle now down the left. Almiron gets to the edge of the area. Oh, he puts a cross in, and Joe Linton's going to get a booking here, I think, because he's tried to do a sort of, maybe not necessarily an overhead kick, but a sort of flying volley, if that makes sense. And he's caught the man as he's done it, and the referee, Darren England, is in no doubt that Newcastle's number 7 deserves a yellow card.
Yeah, we instantly knew it, didn't we? Guay's just in front of him. It is a flying kick. He's not connected with the ball. Guay's just about won it, but he would have, as soon as Guay's turned his head to try and head the ball, he'd have seen these studs coming straight at his face. And it's a dangerous one from Joel Linton. But having said that, if he'd scored, it probably could have counted.
Could have counted. Is it going to count Ellen Road? Because Leeds United have a penalty in the 4th minute of injury time there at Ellen Road. So we'll wait to hear whether or not Leeds have snatched the late equaliser there just to take something from the game. It's been a tough start to the season for Marcelo Bielsa's side, as Palace giving a free kick away. A bit clumsy there from Jean-Philippe Mateta. And a free kick to Newcastle. It's a long way from goal, though. It's closer to the centre circle than it is the penalty area. But it's just time that Palace won't have to get forward themselves.
Absolutely, and a chance for Newcastle trying to snatch things at the death. It's all going on in the Premier League. It's finished at St Mary's, Southampton 2, Burnley 2, so a point for Burnley. And Leeds looking like they've won a penalty, and it looks like it may have been scored as well.
It has been scored. So Leeds 1-1 against Wolves on 94 minutes. I mean, Wolves were the kings of the late show last week, of course, having come back from the death against Aston Villa. Matt Ritchie now picks up a yellow card for time wasting, as Newcastle are taking a little while to work out this free kick. It's a free kick that, as I say, is closer to the centre circle, so it doesn't need that much planning, really. It's just a case of getting that right ball towards the edge of the box, and that's what Ritchie's trying to do now. Gets it towards Lascelles, who heads it across towards the edge of the area. Almiron and Schlupp fighting for it. It drops to Ritchie, who's smashed on. He's got a great left foot, but it gets blocked at the edge of the area. Second ball finds Hayden. Lascelles trying to play one into the box, looking for Wilson. It's played away, hooked back in by Ritchie, but then cleared back towards the halfway line. And the ball is now pumped up in the air. It's going to find Joe Linton on the left-hand side. He plays in. Almiron is a little bit over here. Almiron still gets the cross in. And as we enter the last minute of injury time, Newcastle have another corner.
He's done well there, Almiron, to get on the end of that and win a corner from it, because I thought the ball from Joe Linton was poor. But yeah, corner chance, last few moments of the game, last seconds in the last minute. Can they snatch a winner away from home?
Absolutely. All three Premier League games that are still being played, the 3 o'clock kickoffs are into their 5th minute of injury time. In fact, Leeds Wolves have just gone into the 6th minute of injury time there. But it's an outswinger now from Matt Ritchie towards the edge of the 6-yard box, as Lascelles jumps best for it. Well, he gets some sort of contact with the ball, but he's not able to get it on target. And it's bowled out quickly here by Gaeta, but it's also a good challenge there from Manquillo to stop Zaha. Who's had to go into the Newcastle dugout to get that ball out there. Zaha, he plays it back towards the halfway line. And just the last final seconds now of these 5 minutes of injury time. The ball played towards the edge of the area, and referee Darren England calls time on the game at Selhurst Park. So it's been an entertaining game at times. Both teams would have been pleased to have scored. A header from Benteke put Palace in front, but then an overhead kick from Callum Wilson giving Newcastle their equaliser, and that's how it's finished. Thank you very much for joining us today. For myself, for Paul Szczerbakowicz and Matt Guy. Do join us again soon.